The first thing she did after I jokingly asked, "Would you marry me?" was turn away without saying a single word. My smile disappeared the moment she quietly climbed the stairs to her apartment. Halfway up, she looked back at me with tear-filled eyes that seemed to carry years of heartbreak, then gently motioned for me to follow. I had expected laughter, maybe an awkward smile, but never silence. I had no idea that a careless joke spoken on an ordinary sunny afternoon was about to uncover a truth so heartbreaking that it would change both of our lives forever. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our growing community. Your support helps more heartfelt stories reach people who need them most. The neighborhood where Rowan Mercer lived was the kind of quiet suburban street where everyone waved but very few people truly knew one another. Bright flowers lined neat front yards, children rode bicycles beneath towering maple trees, and every afternoon sunlight spilled warmly across the sidewalks. Rowan had lived there for almost 3 years after inheriting his grandfather's small brick house. At 34, he repaired antique furniture for a living, preferring the company of worn wooden tables and broken rocking chairs over crowded offices. He believed almost everything could be restored if someone invested enough patience. Across the narrow driveway lived Eliza Hartwell. Everyone admired her without truly knowing her. She was friendly but distant, polite but reserved. She volunteered at the local library, baked cookies for elderly neighbors, and smiled whenever children greeted her. Yet her smile always faded the second she believed no one was looking. Rowan noticed those moments more than anyone else. Sometimes he would catch her standing alone on her tiny balcony, staring into the distance as if waiting for something that never came. Over many months they developed an easy friendship built on little favors. Rowan shoveled snow from her walkway during winter. Eliza brought him homemade bread whenever she experimented with new recipes. They laughed over broken sprinklers, shared gardening tips, and occasionally drank lemonade on warm afternoons while talking about books neither of them had finished. Still, Rowan sensed invisible walls around her heart. She never spoke about family. She never invited anyone inside. She never accepted invitations to neighborhood celebrations. Whenever conversations drifted toward relationships, she gently changed the subject. That Saturday afternoon the entire neighborhood gathered outside for a community yard sale. The atmosphere was cheerful. Music played softly from portable speakers. Children chased one another between tables stacked with old books and forgotten treasures. Rowan had just helped an elderly couple carry a dresser into their truck when he wandered over to Eliza's table, where she was selling handmade bookmarks and watercolor paintings. She looked happier than usual beneath the bright summer sun. Trying to make her laugh, Rowan picked up one of the painted cards and dramatically placed his hand over his heart. He grinned and jokingly asked whether she would marry him. Several nearby neighbors chuckled. But Eliza didn't. She simply looked into his eyes. Her smile disappeared. Without answering, she gathered the paintings, quietly walked toward her front door, climbed the stairs leading to her second-floor apartment, and gently motioned for Rowan to follow. The laughter behind him suddenly felt very far away. Inside her apartment everything was spotless, yet strangely untouched, as though life itself had been paused. Sunlight streamed through lace curtains, illuminating shelves filled with books, dried flowers, and framed photographs turned face down. She walked to an old wooden cabinet. Her hands trembled. From a drawer she removed a faded envelope. Without speaking, she handed it to Rowan. Inside rested an engagement ring and dozens of unopened letters tied together with a pale blue ribbon. A handwritten note rested on top. It simply read, "If someone ever asks you to marry them again, tell them the truth." Rowan slowly looked up. Eliza's tears finally began falling. For the first time since they'd met, the carefully constructed walls around her heart crumbled. Years earlier she had been engaged to a firefighter named Graham Holloway. They had planned a spring wedding. They had purchased the tiny apartment together. Every room held dreams they intended to share. Then, only weeks before their ceremony, Graham responded to a devastating warehouse fire. He never came home. The unopened letters were every anniversary card, birthday message, and love note she had written after losing him. She had never mailed a single one. She simply couldn't let go. When Rowan jokingly asked her to marry him downstairs, those words echoed almost perfectly the playful proposal Graham had once made while helping her carry groceries into the same apartment. It wasn't Rowan's joke that hurt. It was the memory. Rowan felt overwhelming guilt. He apologized through tears, ashamed that his harmless attempt at humor had reopened such a deep wound. But Eliza surprised him. She gently shook her head. She explained that perhaps the wound had remained open all along. She had simply hidden it so well that even she forgot it still existed. That afternoon they sat together for hours beneath warm sunlight pouring through the windows. Eliza shared stories she had locked away for nearly 7 years. She described Graham's infectious laugh, his habit of dancing while washing dishes, his dream of opening a rescue center for abandoned dogs, and the future they had carefully imagined together. Rowan listened without interruption. He didn't try to fix her grief. He simply stayed. Sometimes healing begins not with answers but with someone willing to remain beside another person's pain. Over the following weeks their friendship quietly changed. They spent afternoons restoring old furniture together. Eliza began painting again after abandoning her brushes for years. Rowan encouraged her to display her artwork at the town market. She reluctantly agreed. To everyone's surprise, nearly every painting sold. People admired the emotion hidden inside her landscapes. Each canvas carried both sorrow and hope. The success awakened something within her that grief had buried. Life slowly returned. Months later Rowan noticed another remarkable change. The framed photographs inside her apartment now faced outward. Fresh flowers replaced dried ones. Sunlight filled rooms that had once felt frozen in time. Even laughter returned. Not forced laughter. Real laughter. One afternoon Rowan found an abandoned wooden bench near the local park. It was cracked, weathered, and missing several boards. Most people considered it worthless. He smiled. It reminded him of people. He brought it home. Together he and Eliza spent several weekends restoring it. They sanded away years of damage. They replaced broken pieces. They polished every surface until the bench looked beautiful again. When they finally finished, Eliza quietly said the bench had taught her something. Broken things are not always meant to be thrown away. Sometimes they simply need gentle hands and enough time. Those words stayed with Rowan. As autumn approached, the neighborhood organized a charity art festival supporting families of first responders. Without hesitation Eliza donated her newest collection. Every painting reflected light breaking through darkness. Visitors were deeply moved. One elderly firefighter paused before a painting showing sunlight shining through burned trees after a wildfire. He quietly wiped away tears. He later told Eliza that hope often looks exactly like that. The event raised far more money than expected. For the first time since losing Graham, Eliza felt that his memory was creating life instead of only reminding her of loss. Weeks later Rowan received an unexpected package. Inside was the faded envelope she had once shown him. Only this time something had changed. The unopened letters were gone. In their place rested a handwritten message. It thanked Rowan for reminding her that loving someone who had passed away did not mean she had to stop living herself. She had finally opened every letter. She had read them all. Then she had released them into a memory box instead of allowing them to imprison her heart. The engagement ring remained inside. Not because she intended to wear it again, but because it had become a symbol of gratitude rather than endless mourning. One crisp afternoon, nearly a year after the yard sale, the neighborhood gathered once more beneath bright sunshine for another community celebration. Children laughed. Music floated through the air. Neighbors greeted one another warmly. Everything looked remarkably similar. Yet everything had changed. Rowan and Eliza stood beside the beautifully restored bench now installed near the park entrance. A small bronze plaque read, "Hope grows where kindness stays." People admired it without knowing the story behind it. As they watched families sit together, elderly couples rest, and children climb onto its sturdy seat, Rowan realized restoration was never really about wood. It was always about hearts. He glanced toward Eliza. This time she smiled first. Not the careful smile she used to wear for others. A genuine smile filled with peace. Months later, during another bright afternoon picnic with neighbors, Rowan found himself remembering that awkward joke from long ago. He laughed quietly at how one careless sentence had unexpectedly become the beginning of the most meaningful friendship either of them had ever known. Neither of them rushed to define what the future might become. Some relationships bloom into love, while others become something equally precious, two souls helping each other heal. Whatever waited ahead, they had already given each other a priceless gift, the courage to believe that life could still hold beautiful surprises after unimaginable loss. Before we reach the end of this story, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment when someone's kindness helped you heal from a painful chapter of your life? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your story might encourage someone who is struggling today. As the golden afternoon sunlight bathed the neighborhood one final time, Rowan watched families gathering on porches, children chasing butterflies, and Eliza laughing freely with neighbors who now knew the real woman behind the quiet smile. He realized that love is not always measured by grand declarations or perfect timing. Sometimes it begins with listening instead of speaking, staying instead of leaving, and choosing compassion when life unexpectedly reveals another person's hidden pain. Hearts do not heal because they forget the past. They heal because someone gently reminds them that the future is still worth embracing. And in that quiet little neighborhood, where one innocent joke had uncovered years of silent sorrow, hope found a home once again, not by erasing yesterday, but by giving tomorrow a chance. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Thank you for being part of our community, where every story reminds us that kindness, forgiveness, and second chances can change a life forever.